The final offensive position of the 12 days of MLB rankings is finally here. We've got the DH position, and I'm going to give a disclaimer. It's all over the place. I ranked the National League DHs for a league that technically doesn't have a DH yet, so a lot of the National League teams, they're kind of just the bench, and I'm ranking the bench and who's available. But there are some teams that still have good DHs, good DH possibilities. A lot of them I kind of just chose who I think right now would be the best option, but I do still think that there's a lot of guys in this list that have a lot of value, and especially the top 10, it's a legit ranking. So before we do get going into it, make sure you guys do drop a like on today's video. That very much helps support the channel, as well as subscribe so you don't miss out on any content coming at you. We are so close to the top 50 players ranked in Major League Baseball going into next year. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you're subscribed. Get in the comment section down below. Let me know who you think is the best DH, who you think I got right, who you think I got wrong. Drop me a follow on all my social media at GiraffeNeckMarc. Links in description. And I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, you guys know DraftKings as the #1 place to do your daily fantasy sports contests. But DraftKings is more than that now. They've got a sportsbook, and that sportsbook is also coming in New York very, very soon. Seriously, it won't be long until you can start betting on your favorite New York sports through the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app. DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you would want from a betting app, whether it's player props all the way to same-game parlays. They have it all. And in just a short time, you'll be able to use the DraftKings Sportsbook app right in New York to bet on your favorite sports teams in the city. Not to mention, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And they allow you to withdraw your money whenever you want. They're not gonna hold it in there. You wanna take your money out after hitting big? Go ahead, bring it out. And as someone who likes to, wager a little bit on sports here and there, I've had the best experience possible using the DraftKings Sportsbook. They make it so easy. Check out DraftKings and tell them that I sent you using promo code GiraffeNeckMarc. That's promo code GiraffeNeckMarc. DraftKings Sportsbook coming soon to New York State. Getting today's video started at the number 32 spot, Michael Chavis of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pirates, like a lot of the National League teams, don't really have a clear-cut DH candidate. Michael Chavis kind of seems like he fits that cut. And let's be honest, Michael Chavis really hasn't shown much the last few years, making him a pretty easy choice to be at the bottom of the list. Chavis last year had a 69 WRC+, followed up from a 65 in 2020. His best ever was 96 in 2019, but really at the end of the day, Chavis offensively is just kind of whatever. Not a whole lot of promise that we've seen thus far there yet. So yeah, I'm putting Michael Chavis at number 32. Next up, coming in at number 31, I've got Ryan O'Hearn of the Kansas City Royals. O'Hearn is a guy who has big power, and we saw him swing the bat well when he first came up in 2018, but as we've gotten more information and more data on him, well, he just hasn't been that good. He strikes out about 30% of the time, did not walk at all last year in 250 plate appearances, 225 average, 268 on base, 369 slugging, 70 WRC+. Ryan O'Hearn, not one of the stronger hitters in the league right now. For the number 30 spot, I've got whoever it's going to be for the San Diego Padres. I mean, in reality, it probably would be a guy like Profar or Hosmer, and you can move Cronenworth around, but because we already ranked those guys, we'll just say their entire bench, which would be Victor Caratini, Jorge Alfaro, and Ha-Sung Kim, maybe even Nomar Mazara. There's not a whole lot of offense there. Ha-Sung Kim's a defensive first guy as well. Caratini, not much of a hitter. Jorge Alfaro, not much of a hitter. Nomar Mazara can't stay on a team for more than a season. DH-wise, the Padres are among some of the weakest, but there at least is still some value there. And honestly, if I was ranking who should actually be their DH, I don't think they would be this low, but right now it's what we gotta do. For the 29th best DH in Major League Baseball, Philadelphia Phillies, I guess it's Matt Vierling. I mean, last year he only had 77 plate appearances, had a 121 WRC+, 324 average, 364 on base, 479 slugging, 356 WOBA. Not really fair to, though, take those numbers too much into account. Steamer projects him to be about league average next year, and in AAA in 2021, he wasn't particularly strong, 89 WRC+. That's gonna put Vierling in at number 29 here. I don't lose a lot of sleep over this one. Jonathan Daza is gonna come in at the number 28 spot, DH possibility for the Colorado Rockies. He's a good hitter for contact. I mean, 280 average last year, 332 on base, but there's little to no power there, 355 slugging, and a WOBA at 304. Give him a WRC+ at 75. Of course, because we're talking about DH, we're only talking about offensive production. That's not one of the stronger in the league. 2 homers, 30 RBIs, 18% K rate, 6% walk rate. Not a whole lot here with Jonathan Daza, but I mean, at least he does hit for average, I guess. Similar to the Padres, coming in at number 27, I have whoever it's going to be for the National. Again, similar to the Padres, Yadiel Hernandez would probably end up being their DH because you just play Victor Robles out there for the defense. But because we ranked Yadiel Hernandez already, I'm just going to do the entire Washington Nationals team as a whole. I just don't think it would be that strong, whether it's Andrew Stevenson, which doesn't even make sense, or Luis Garcia, or Riley Adams, or Yadiel Hernandez. It's still not one of the better DH spots in the league. 26th best DH in Major League Baseball, Willie Calhoun. Now, we've seen Calhoun play really well back in 2019, hit 21 homers in just 337 plate appearances, but the numbers have dropped off quite a bit. Last year in 2021, he had a WRC+ of 91 after a really weak 2020 season, of course, with some injury stuff in there. Calhoun was walking about 7.5% of the time last year, striking out 12%, which is really encouraging. I think that there's something there, but he really didn't show a lot of pop in the bat last year, and that's a little bit concerning, which is why I'm going to put Willie Calhoun at the 26th spot. Getting the top 25 started at the number 25 spot, I've got Miguel Cabrera of the Detroit Tigers. We love Miggy, he's a legend, but let's be honest, Miguel Cabrera is a shell of the player he once was. He's going into his 39-year-old season, and I don't expect things to get much better. Last year in 130 games, 15 homers, 75 RBIs, hitting 256 with a 316 on base, 386 slugging, 92 WRC+. His offensive numbers also don't get helped out by the fact that he's about as slow as molasses on the base paths. I don't know if I really want him in the lineup every day right now. Miggy is a legend, but not one of the best DHs in the league anymore. Next up, at number 24, Harold Ramirez of the Chicago Cubs. Dude's kind of interesting. 90 WRC+ last year, doesn't walk, a 4% walk rate, but he also doesn't strike out, 15.5% K rate, 7 homers, 41 RBIs, hitting 268 with a 305 on base, 398 slugging, just like slightly below average offensively. But I will say he's a little bit of a baseball savant warrior. 85th percentile in average exit velo, 94th in max exit velo, 81st percentile in hard hit rate, 88th in sprint speed. There's some stuff that Harold Ramirez does well. Hit the ball in the air more, he'll be successful. Slotting in at the number 23 spot in today's video, kind of whoever the Brewers are going to play, Jace Peterson, Brasso, Castanheira, whoever it's going to be. All their players will be good, and they'll play matchups, and they'll be smart about it, and even a guy like Tyrone Taylor has the opportunity to be a really solid player. It's just kind of hard to figure out who exactly is going to be the DH for the Brewers. As a whole, they'll be somewhat valuable, but individually, not as strong. I think 23 is fair for a team that doesn't have a clear DH. For the 22nd best DH in Major League Baseball, Luis Torrens of the Seattle Mariners. Luis Torrens looked pretty good last year, 101 WRC+. At the catcher DH position, he was their main DH going down the stretch, 59 games. 15 homers, 47 RBIs, 243 average, 299 on base, 431 slugging, and a 101 WRC+. That's all like kind of okay for Luis Torrens, and going into his 26-year-old season, I could definitely see an improvement from this guy, especially if he's playing DH every single day. Just missing out on the top 20, coming in at number 21, I've got Lars Nootbaar of the St. Louis Cardinals. I think it could be Nootbaar, Juan Yepez, a variety of different guys, even maybe Paul DeJong gets some at-bats if there is a DH, but Nootbaar kind of seemed to be the best of the rest right now, although Yepez looked really good in the Arizona Fall League. Nootbaar, 5 home runs, 15 RBIs in 58 games last year, hitting 239 with a 317 on base, 422 slugging, 101 WRC+. He seems like he could be a league average, maybe slightly above league average offensive bat next year for the Cardinals. Getting the top 20 started at the number 20 spot, down a little bit on him this year, Mike Moustakas of the Cincinnati Reds, who looks like he could realistically be their DH. I was shocked at how terrible Mike Moustakas looked last year. I'm kind of getting a little concerned. Last year in 62 games, 6 homers, 22 RBIs, an 8% walk rate, 22% K rate. His WRC+ was 70 because he hit 208 with a 282 on base, 372 slugging. It was not a good year. 284 WOBA. Moustakas struggled mightily, and in Cincinnati, a hitter's ballpark, you expect a little bit better out of him. Hasn't looked great the last 2 years to total. Number 19, decent rookie season last year, Trevor Larnach of the Minnesota Twins. Larnach does some things well, like walk 10% of the time last year, but he also did have a 35% K rate in 80 games. 7 homers, 28 RBIs, hitting 223 with a 322 on base, 350 slugging, 89 WRC+. The numbers weren't great, but for a guy who does barrel up the ball as well as Larnach, and a guy who does have the talent, and we've seen at the minor league level, he tore it up. I do have high hopes for Trevor next year. It's why I'm a little aggressive ranking him at number 19. At number 18, I'm going with Seth Brown of the Oakland A's. Seth Brown feels just like such an A's player. He's good. He's fine. Nothing spectacular. 20 homers, 48 RBIs last year in 300 plate appearances, which is actually pretty strong. 214 average, 274 on base, 480 slugging, gave him a WRC+ of 103, but I just don't see him really being anything much more than like a slightly league average hitter who has some pop in his bat. Seth Brown, number 18. 17th best DH in Major League Baseball, Matt Beattie, LA Dodgers. So, you know, he's kind of served that role a little bit. Pinch hitter, plays a little first base, a little corner outfield too. He's all over the place. But you could see him, Edwin Rios, a variety of different guys for the Dodgers. They'll be swapping guys in and out. Beattie actually a decent little hitter here. In 234 plate appearances last year, 7 homers, 40 RBIs, hitting 270 with a 363 on base, 402 slugging, 114 WRC+, WOBA 339. I don't think by any means he's going to be this elite hitter, but he does show the ability to hit the ball for some pop, get on base at a pretty decent rate, good bat to ball skills. I think that puts him right around the middle of the pack here for DHs in Major League Baseball. And again, of course, with the Dodgers, they're going to be cycling guys for sure. 16, sneaky good, Jordan Luplow, newly acquired Arizona Diamondback. Luplow is like actually kind of pretty good. Absolutely mashes against left-handed pitching, and last year in 200 plate appearances, he had a walk rate of 14.5%, something that we've seen consistent since 2019. While his K rate was up at almost 30% last year, he hit 202 with a 326 on base, 454 slugging, good for a WRC+ of 116, 11 homers, 28 RBIs. I think Luplow, especially against left-handed pitching, is very strong, and overall, I mean, a 14.5 walk rate, that is gonna be some value regardless of what you do at the plate. Right about halfway point here at the number 15 spot, I'm gonna go with Robinson Cano. I think Cano can can probably play second base, but if there is a DH, you can see him, JD Davis, Dom Smith be guys that cycle in and out of this position. But I'll go with Cano for now. Cano, of course, coming off the steroid suspension season, hasn't played since 2020, and we don't really know what we got out of him because, well, he was using roids. But if we take 19 and 20, put them together, you're looking at a guy who can put up an average of 275, on base 321, slugging 463, and a WRC plus of 109. 5% walk rate isn't great, 15% K rate's pretty good, 23 homers, 69 RBIs, nice. I think Cano is going to take a big step back from that because he's going to be 39 years old, but in the right idea, in the right situation, you play him against righties, JD Davis against lefties, even Dom Smith sprinkled in there. I think the Mets could be looking at a middle of the pack DH type value. For the 14th best DH in Major League Baseball, Gavin Sheets of the White Sox. Really nice season. Gavin Sheets actually showed some really good stuff last year in a small sample, albeit 54 games, 179 plate appearances, 19 homers, 34 doubles, hitting 250 with a 324 on base, 506 slugging, 352 WOBA to give him a WRC plus at 125. He mashed. He was hitting the ball really hard. A walk rate right around 9%, doesn't strike out too much. I think Gavin Sheets is going to be really solid. I wanted to put him a little bit higher on this list, but as I start to see some of the guys above him, there's a little more longevity, a little more consistency over a higher sample size. But that being said, Gavin Sheets definitely did some stuff really well last year. Number 13. I know he won the Gold Glove, but might be looking at some DH spot time next year if there is one. Adam Duvall of the Atlanta Braves. Duvall to me seems like a guy who would be their DH next year. Defensively, he's actually not that bad by any means. He's pretty strong, but I don't know if he's really going to be playing too much outfield. I mean, it could be him and Ozuna switching off DH spots in corner outfield. While I know Duvall played a little center last year in the playoffs, he's not a center fielder. That's really not where he belongs, but he definitely can hit. 38 home runs, 113 RBIs last year in 146 games, hitting 228 with a 281 on base, 491 slugging, 324 WOBA for a WRC plus of 103. For a guy with 38 homers and 113 RBI, I do think that the WRC plus of 103 feels a little bit low, but I understand that counting stats don't necessarily matter too much when you count into these numbers, especially RBIs. You see that 6% walk rate, 31% K rate. It's not the greatest, but the dude mashes. I love putting him here at 13. For the 12th best DH in Major League Baseball, Trey Mancini of the Baltimore Orioles. You gotta love this guy. Mancini had a really strong year after missing a season, of course dealing with cancer, and he was really solid. A 105 WRC plus, a guy who in the past had a 132 back in 2019. Mancini's shown the ability to be a really plus hitter. 255 average last year, 326 on base, 432 slugging. Like I said, that 105 WRC plus, 21 homers, 71 RBIs. I think Trey Mancini is right outside the top 10 among DHs. And then just missing on the top 10, coming in at number 11, let's talk about Darren Ruff. Darren Ruff was a beast at the plate last year. Granted, it's facing left-handed pitching. He's going to be a platoon, and if there is a DH in the National League, it'll probably be him and Lamont Wade who will be splitting, and they're definitely going to give some extreme value here. Ruff last year in 117 games, 312 plate appearances, 16 homers, 43 RBIs, hitting 271 with a 385 on base, 519 slugging, gave him a WRC plus of 144, disgusting, 28% K rate. Ruff and whoever his platoon partner is going to be are always going to put up great offensive numbers, but I think he just misses out on the top 10 at number 11. Getting the top 10 started at the number 10 spot, current free agent Jorge Soler. We've seen Soler in the past be one of the better DHs in the league back in 2019, where he popped off for 48 home runs. Now, a little juice ball probably played into it, but still, Jorge Soler is very good. The projections expect him to pop off again next year, 116 WRC plus, and while last year he was only slightly above league average offensively with a 101 WRC plus, if you look at the months after he got traded to the Braves, he was popping off. You get him out of Kansas City, you get him in a more hitter-friendly ballpark, you get him in a good team and a good lineup. Jorge Soler has the potential to 100% be a top 10 DH in the league. The power is scary. He walked 11% of the time last year. While his average is low, the dude hits the ball so hard it doesn't matter. I got Jorge Soler right inside the top 10 at number 10. For the 9th best DH in Major League Baseball, let's head down south. Tampa Bay Rays, Austin Meadows. Meadows is really good. You start talking about these top 10 DHs and you're looking at guys who put up some great numbers, and Meadows is one of them. 142 games, 27 homers, 106 RBIs, hitting 234 with a 315 on base, 458 slugging, a WRC plus at 113. He gets on base at a 10% rate in terms of walks, doesn't strike out too much. Overall, Austin Meadows, really strong offensive player, and I expect another strong season next year. Maybe one of my more aggressive ratings here. At the number 8 spot, Garrett Cooper of the Miami Marlins. I feel like Garrett Cooper's got to play more. This dude absolutely mashes. Since 2020, he's played in 105 games, 15 homers, 53 RBIs, hitting 284 with a 371 on base, 478 slugging, WOBA at 366, WRC plus 133. That's among the top of the league in terms of WRC plus for just straight up hitting. 10% walk rate, which we saw an improvement last year from 2020. 25% K rate. I feel like Garrett Cooper, I always see him every offseason as well, just working his butt off. This dude can mash. He's a good hitter at the plate, and I think DH would be a perfect spot for a guy who's definitely a liability in the field. For the 7th best DH in Major League Baseball, Cleveland Guardians, Franmil Reyes. The Franimal, yeah, this dude can hit. Last year in 115 games, 30 homers, 85 RBIs, hitting 254 with a 324 on base, 520 522 slugging, WOBA at 354, WRC plus 125, absolutely mashes, puts up some of the highest exit velos in the league, loves the long ball. While he does strike out a bit, he actually gets on base at a decent clip, 9.2% last year. Power ability from Franmil Reyes makes him one of the better power hitters in the league, and that 125 WRC plus, definitely top 10 among DH. Down quite a bit at the number 6 spot, I got JD Martinez. Now, we did see JD Martinez bounce back after 2020 where he struggled. He couldn't use the iPads, but we did see him bounce back, still not at the same levels that JD Martinez once was at the DH spot. In 148 games last year, 28 homers, 99 RBIs, hitting 286 with the 349 on base, 518 slugging, WRC plus of 128. Those numbers are down from his peak performances with the Red Sox in 18 and 19, so I had to drop him down a little bit on the list, but JD Martinez at the plate is still a guy that I fear, one of the best bats in the league for sure. Getting the top 5 started at the number 5 spot, we've got the fine wine of hitters. It's Nelson Cruz. He continues to mash. It's unbelievable. Now, while his numbers did drop off a little bit last year, and they should, he's 40 years old, he's still projected to be one of the top hitting DHs in the league next year at 41. Last year in 140 games, 32 homers, 86 RBIs, hitting 265 with a 334 on base, 497 slugging, a WRC plus at 122. He had an ISO at 232, WOBA at 346. The walk rate was down a little bit, but so was the K rate, which was great. And in the past, we've seen him be a 160 WRC plus guy as far back as 2019. Nelson Cruz, the fine wine of hitters. We're putting him in the top 5. For the 4th best DH in Major League Baseball, Toronto Blue Jays, Teoscar Hernandez. Teoscar, man, what a year. Coming off a really strong 2020, he showed that, oh yeah, I'm legit in 2021. 143 games, 32 homers, 116 RBIs. He even stole 12 bases, 296 average, 346 on base, 524 slugging, 369 WOBA to give him a WRC plus of 132. I think this guy can continue to mash at an extremely high level. I know some Blue Jays fans think he's going to go to right field, and that's a possibility, but I do think that's probably most valuable at DH because he's not really great in the outfield. The bat to ball skills, the power, the speed. Teoscar Hernandez is a top 5 DH for sure. For the 3rd best DH in Major League Baseball, New York Yankees, Giancarlo Stanton. Yeah, Giancarlo's really good. I know Yankees fans give him a hard time. I don't really know why. You want to dock him for injury, sure, but last year he was healthy, played 139 games, 35 homers, 97 RBIs, hitting 273 with a 354 on base, 516 slugging, 137 WRC plus, a WOBA of 370. He was walking 11% of the time, striking out only 27%, which is actually down for his career numbers. I mean, you watch this guy hit when he's healthy. He's one of the most feared hitters in all of baseball. Hits the ball so hard, rips the cover off of it. Another healthy season for Giancarlo Stanton, and honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he's top 2 and could reclaim that number 1 spot. Just missing out on the number 1 spot at number 2, one of the most exciting hitters in Major League Baseball, Yordan Alvarez. Now, of course, Yordan has those injury concerns, but you're injury prone until you're not, and last year he played 144 games, 33 homers, 104 RBIs, hitting 277 with a 346 on base, 531 slugging, WRC plus at 138, WOBA 369. His ex-WOBA was even higher at 389, walking 8.5% of the time, striking out 24%. He hits the ball so hard. The discipline at the plate is unmatched. Yordan Alvarez is such a beast. Number 2 DH in the league. I think it's really close, but I got him at number 2 because, of course, coming in at number 1, it's Shohei Ohtani, and I'm not even taking into account his pitching here. This is strictly on the offensive side of the ball. I do think he's the best DH in the league, and here's why. Last year in 158 games, 46 homers, 100 RBIs. He stole 26 bases, walked 15% of the time, struck out just under 30%, but that 15% walk rate, elite, 257 average, 372 on base, 592 slugging, gave him a WRC plus of 152, the best among DHs, 393 WOBA. His ex-WOBA was even higher at 408. These are elite level numbers, and while of course the pitching side of the ball definitely helps boost up his WAR, at the plate alone, he is one of the best hitters in all of baseball, and at the DH spot, he's got to be number 1. So those are my rankings for the best DH from every single team in Major League Baseball. It's a little all over the place. It's a little crazy. It's probably the hardest position to like actually rank because there's just not a whole lot of guys at DH right now outside of the American League, but I would still love to know what you guys think about my rankings down in the comment section below. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the content coming at you. Follow me on all my social media at GiraffeNeckMarc, links in description. If you were wondering what jersey I'm wearing today, it's NC Dinos. Shout out to my fans out in Korea. This is the real deal. This is legit stuff. Probably one of the cooler jerseys in my entire collection, and I don't have a DH jersey, so why not wear like an NC Dinos Eric Thames DH kind of thing? Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video. You know the drill from here on out. YouTube recommends you watch this video. This is my DH ranking from last year. Click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the relief pitcher ranking. Bye.